The great Frank Isola is with us. He is the host of the starting lineup, Sirius XM. You also see him on ESPN, PTI. He's everywhere. He's wearing a hat. He wasn't aware we're going to be on Zoom today. How are you, Frank?
Good. I'm assuming some guest must have canceled at the last minute. You said, let's get Frank. And, within 2 minutes, I'm up here. I'm not ready to go. I walking my dog. It's hot out. So, I look like a bum. No hair and makeup, but we'll give it a go.
You're our go-to guy.
It's worse than that. It's worse than that. No guest canceled. He decided 20 minutes ago he wanted to do a show and then said, hey, you know who we can get on?
You know who's never doing anything? Who's always just waiting to go on a show?
You weren't second choice. You were first choice.
We did do a show as Mike and the Mad Dog. I mean, we did. It was great.
Yeah. That's a good job by you there, Stu. I know, I'm Mike. Stu did well. I knew him back when I was there. I love the I was there. That's his best one.
I'm tempted to have you answer all these questions as Mike Francesa, because most of them are Knicks questions, Frank.
I know the Knicks. A little birdie told me.
Let's start here. Let's start here with the great Frank Isola. We'll get to the Knicks here in just a second. They still don't have a head coach, driving me fucking crazy. But let's start with LeBron. So LeBron opted in. Rich Paul released a statement. What do you make of all of it, Frank?
Yeah, so I spoke to Joe Varden today, Joey Bag of Donuts, who covers, the NBA, and he's based out of Cleveland. He covers it for The Athletic. When he's at cocktail parties, he says it's the New York Times. And he read us a quote from 2015 where it was LeBron is going to monitor everything that the team is doing during the offseason. So we've been down this road with him before where it's kind of that passive-aggressive thing. The most interesting thing is that he doesn't have a contract for next year. Usually he does that 1+1. So after this season, it'll be interesting to see what he does. But he's monitoring the situation. You know what they just did? They just gave $53 million to a guy that's going to be 41 years old. That's right. The big move that the Lakers made.
You mentioned passive-aggressive. Are the Lakers being a little passive-aggressive, not releasing a statement saying LeBron has opted in? Or is there something going there?
Well, everyone has kind of an easy out because they're going to change ownership pretty soon, right? They bought the team it was valued at $10 billion. So there could be a little back and forth. I think after a while, it could be a little exhausting being around LeBron. What has it been, 8 years? Now, he fits everything that the Lakers want. He's a huge name. He did win a championship. He does make them an interesting watch. The problem with LeBron and the Lakers, the team isn't terrible. It's just not good enough in the Western Conference. So I've always wondered, how many teams could he realistically go to? I think maybe the teams in Texas because they're good enough. I always think the Warriors because of Steph. Cleveland, you could see him playing there. I guess the Knicks, and I would think Miami. So there's probably a handful of teams. But remember, as you guys know, he's got that no trade clause, so he could decide where he wants to go.
What are the chances, Frank, that he ends up playing in a Knicks uniform?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think the Knicks have to give up too much to get him. Who knows about the relationship between Rich Paul and Clutch and the Knicks? As you know, it's basically a CAA operation. The agent, the president of the team, Leon Rose, was CAA. So I wonder if how that would all work out. I mean, for me, I've always felt the two things that could kind of cement his legacy, even though he doesn't really need it anymore. The guy's had a great career. If he went to New York and won,
yes,
right, first title since '73.
Yeah.
But the other one would be, what if he went to the place where Michael Jordan won a title and went to Chicago and won one there? And he could say, well, it's our first title since Michael left. So those would be the two places that he goes to. But I don't know if he cares about his legacy enough. He's going to go to a rival of the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Knicks, or the Chicago Bulls. I don't know about that.
The Bulls are not championship ready. The Knicks are championship ready. So that would make some sense to me. And I am with you. If LeBron could win one championship in New York, it would feel like 3 and he might surpass Jordan.
Well, and I also think, too, if you're the Knicks, it's not the craziest thing because it's been 50 years.
Yes.
Well, 50, next year is going to be 53 years since you last won, and you haven't been to the finals since 1999. So we're already a quarter way through the century, and you haven't even been to a finals yet. So sometimes you just have to say, hey, look what Toronto did. Toronto went all in on getting Kawhi Leonard. He came for one season. They hung a banner. I get it. He left, but they always have a championship. And sometimes these teams that sit around forever and never win, and the Knicks are kind of like that right now, why not go for it?
I'll let Mikey A ask the question. He just texted me, so go ahead, Mikey A.
LeBron player coach for the Knicks? Both?
Oh, two rings.
Does he get 2 rings for one championship? If
Hell
that
yes.
happens?
I always used to say that, like, why not just sign him to the minimum and then just give him like 50 million a year to be the coach? But they don't let you do that. Come on, he's already been the player coach in a couple of places. Never Miami, but in some of the other places, he's definitely been the player coach. It's not the craziest thing. And of course, as you guys know, wherever he goes, I would have to think his son's going to come with him. Because that's the other little,
We'll take him.
Cherry on the sundae would be not only winning, but winning with his son on the team as well.
Let his son coach. I mean, how about that?
the younger
Assistant.
son, let the wife coach.
There was a time where Lebitard and I were talking about when LeBron was flirting with Miami and ultimately decided to come to Miami. We were saying that we would let Rich Paul be the head coach if it meant getting LeBron James.
and that's what you love about like all this stuff going on with LeBron. It's like classic where the Knicks are. It's like if they got him, he'd be 41, and you're crossing your fingers that he could stay together. Miami gets him when he's in the prime of his career, and they go to 4 straight finals, and everything is hunky dory.
Yes. Can't believe we're still talking about LeBron James as the centerpiece. At the age of 41, as a centerpiece of the NBA. It's crazy.
Well, that's
right?
why, as you know, like the dumbest, the conversation used to be the dumbest conversation. And we always joke around. I do the radio show with Brian Scalabrine. We always say at halftime of the first game, everyone starts talking about the MVP. Who's the MVP of the league? Who has the lead? It's going to be MVP race. It's the most absurd conversation until face of the league came along. Who's going to be the face of the league? Well, it's still LeBron, number one, and no one decides it. You just don't announce one day, I will now be the face of the league. I believe the public decides it, and the public still talks about this guy like he's 25 years old and is going to have another 15 years in the league.
Frank, can we go back to your friend, the reporter who says he works for the New York Times at cocktail parties? Because I want to get that person on. Who is he, Mikey? Let's get him on.
Joe Varden. I say that, they say The Athletic, but when they're making calls to try to get in an owner to call them back or get, Adam Silver to call them back or, a general manager, that's, hey, just tell them it's Joe Varden from the New York Times that called. Right. Then they're going to call back. You say The Athletic, they think it's a beer. Right. A non-alcoholic beer. You say the New York Times, they're like, I'm going to call you back.
Has Frank Isola ever beefed up the resume to impress anyone? I mean,
I think the only time I said once appeared on Around the Horn with Stugotz, and that's what did it for me.
What'd that get you? I mean,
it got me some places. Got me into a lacrosse game for free. How about that?
Well, they're all for free, I think. They should be charging for
all right, now we get it.
Staying with the Knicks here for a second, they reached out to Dawn Staley. What do you make of that?
I mean, Rick Brunson, who's an assistant coach with the team, son is obviously the best player on the team. He's had a relationship with her for a long time. They both got Philly backgrounds. She coached at Temple, where he went to school, not at the same time, but they've known each other. So I'm sure it's, that always falls under the due diligence thing. They want to make sure that they interview enough people. I keep hearing that Mike Brown is the guy. I think it's Jason Kidd until they hire somebody, even though I know Jason Kidd showed up at Cooper Flag's press conference. Nico Harrison has come out and said it's not going to happen. I still think Jason Kidd will be in play until they name a coach, but I have been hearing a lot of whispers over the past week or so that Mike Brown seems to be the leader right now.
Jason, we'll get back to Jason Kidd in a second. How do you think New York, the Knicks fans, would react if they did indeed hire Dawn Staley to be the head coach?
Oh, I think it would be mixed. No one would want to get canceled, so everyone would watch what they say. But it kind of goes against, what they have put out. Everything is, experienced coach. Well, right away you think NBA championship coach. Yeah, she's won championships at South Carolina. She also won a gold medal. Listen, one day a team's going to do it. You're going to be taking, a huge leap of faith. I would think I would start out with kind of a solid team, but the Knicks believe they're a championship contender. So we just talked about it. It's been 53 years. It's going to be 53 years since they last won a title. You're going to put all your eggs in the basket of someone who's never coached in the NBA, never been an assistant coach. I'm not saying it can happen. JJ Redick, because he's friends with LeBron and is a smart guy, got the Laker job, and I thought he did a good job. So it's not the craziest thing, but I think it would be split 50-50 on that.
Frank, Jason Kidd is interesting to me because I believe that was the plan. They fired Thibodeau, a guy who gets them to a place they haven't been to in 25 years, the Eastern Conference Finals. Really, when you look at the landscape of the NBA, the Knicks were really close to being good enough to winning an NBA championship this year. And so I do believe you fire Thibodeau because Jason Kidd is the plan. He's the next guy. They thought it would happen quickly. And it didn't. And a funny thing happened along the way. The Mavs got the #1 overall pick. So I would ask you, if you're Jason Kidd, would you want to leave the Mavericks in that situation for this situation, the Knicks situation?
I think Jason Kidd would do it just for money, and I think
That's what it's about right now.
Really?
And eventually he'll probably get more money out of Dallas. But it's funny, you brought up an interesting timeline because you're talking about the lottery, and that's when they got the #1 pick. So if you're hinting, and I tend to think that way too, were they kind of flirting with the idea of Jason Kidd during the playoffs or during the season at some point? That would not shock me. We know that these conversations take place either, through an intermediary, an agent, whatever the case may be. So I do kind of think their plan was Jason Kidd. But remember for Dallas, and Dallas has made a ton of deals with the Knicks over the years. But the reason the Knicks didn't have that second round pick this year is because of the tampering charge with Jalen Brunson. So if you're Nico Harrison, you're the Dallas Mavericks, you guys got humiliated you got a lot of criticism for the Luka trade. Then you get really lucky with the draft, and now the Knicks call you up. They want your coach, and I think it's their way of saying, you're not going to bully us. We're not going to let you talk to our coach, nor are we going to all of a sudden give him an extension. There's been talk that they're going to wait until maybe October to give Jason Kidd an extension, because what the Knicks did, a lot of teams are upset, because it's one thing to call up one team and ask the permission to talk to a coach that's under contract. They called up, what was it, five that we know about, right? Billy Donovan, you had Quinn Snyder, you had Jason Kidd. So there's been a few guys that they called up, and that kind of messes up everyone's situation, because now you're in a position where the coach could say, well, hang on a second, you won't let me talk to them. Well, shouldn't you give me a raise, or shouldn't you give me an extension on my contract? So a lot of teams are kind of upset with the way the Knicks handled that.
As well, they should be upset with how the Knicks. Everyone should be upset with how the Knicks handled this, because you don't fire a guy unless you have his replacement ready to go, right? Like,
well, let me ask you this. Let's pretend for a minute.
Okay.
That Pat Riley's in charge. Do you think Pat Riley, after the Knicks had their most successful season in 25 years, is going to fire the coach? Because we know that, we'll go back to LeBron. When LeBron was there that first year, there were reports that he was unhappy with Eric Spoelstra. Remember, they obviously didn't win that first year. Pat Riley just, stayed on course. Same thing with what the Indiana Pacers did last year. Yep. They blew 2 games against Boston. I understand now, Rick, we look at, everyone has to bow down in front of Rick Carlisle. Last year, nobody was doing that when they blew 2 games to the Boston Celtics. They didn't get rid of Rick Carlisle. So for me, the Knicks, you have your best season in 25 years. They were knocked out on a Saturday, and by Tuesday, the coach was gone. Right. They couldn't even give themselves 2 weeks to kind of let everything settle in and sink in and realize, we had a great year this year. They just decided to get rid of the coach, and then they try to say it was 2 players, OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges. That's who they're going to listen to? Right. I'm not buying any of it. I'm not.
With Jason Kidd, you said something interesting there. The highest bidder. So, explain that. Money more important than championships to Jason Kidd?
No, I think Jason thinks that he could win. So if he came to the Knicks, it'd be 2 things. One would be the money, because the Knicks could blow everyone out of the water.
Yes.
But you are in the Eastern Conference. And that's the thing with everything that's going on out west, like Dallas. If you play it out and assume that Kyrie's going to come back at some point, he's going to be healthy, and everyone stays healthy, they could be a really, really good team. Houston won 52 games? They added Kevin Durant. You still have Oklahoma City. Minnesota's bringing all their key guys back. So it's just tough. So for Jason Kidd, ton of money, knows the area, played for a long time with the New Jersey Nets, spent 1 year with the Knicks, so he knows about the inner workings of that place. And obviously he'd be getting a ton of money to leave. So Jason's the one guy I could see it happening with him. But again, that's Dallas having to allow it to happen. He would probably have to, really put up a stink to try to get out of his contract, but it's still not over yet. So that's why, to me, he's still in play.
Frank Isola with us, host of the Starting Lineup, Sirius XM Radio. Check him out right there, PTI as well, and on ESPN. You mentioned Riley before, and there is some talk down here amongst Heat fans that Riley has gotten too old for the job, that he keeps missing out on big-time free agents. What are your thoughts on that, Frank?
Yeah, well, who are the big-time free agents? I mean, who's really out there? I mean,
Right.
they tried to make a play for Kevin Durant. I think that the Miami Heat have something cooking. And with, Pat Riley and the Heat, there were ups and downs, but I think the mindset of the team and the philosophy stays the same. So even in bad periods, they still recover. They had a terrible year last year all the way around, and the Jimmy Butler thing was an absolute mess. But I'm not buying that. I listened to Pat Riley's end of the year press conference, which to me that should be put on the NBA calendar. It should be like opening night, the Christmas Day games, the trade deadline, and then Pat Riley obviously had to be TBD. His end of the year press conference is great because a guy like him doesn't talk that much. And I don't know. I listened to that. He sounded pretty sharp to me. So plus he's got a lot of smart people around him. I'm not buying that. I think that's the society and the culture that we live in, where as people get a little bit older, instead of us looking at them as being knowledgeable, we think that they don't know what they're doing anymore and they're out of touch. I'm not buying that.
How quickly does Riley hang up the phone on the Knicks if they call and ask about Eric Spoelstra?
I don't think they'd have the audacity to do that. I'm not buying that one.
Really?
It's funny too. If the Knicks, and this predates the current ownership, so as much as maybe we'd want to, get on him, Jim Dolan, for this, when Pat Riley went to them in the 90s and wanted a bigger role, the old Bill Parcells line, you want me to cook, but I can't shop for the groceries.
Right.
If they had just allowed Pat Riley to run the Knicks, I mean, think about where we would be all these years later. You don't think they probably have 3 championships by now?
Yeah.
I think it would be a minimum, and think about how different the Miami Heat would be. There might not be a big shot Dan LeBron and Stugotz. Who knows? The focus wouldn't have been on Miami for all those years, right?
No, we owe everything to Riley and
You
LeBron.
do.
You're right. Me and LeBron do. No, we're serious. Yeah, we call our studios the house that LeBron built. I mean,
no, it's really true, and you know this. I mean, you're from New York, so when the Heat first came into the league, it was just seen as a place where. And I was covering the Knicks back then. It's great. You get to go to Miami a couple of times a year. Hopefully the games are scheduled in the winter. It'll be warm. Like nobody looked at like the Miami Heat as a real serious thing. He goes there and he changed everything about. I mean, I know we make fun of the Heat culture thing, but they certainly haven't. It's all because of Pat Riley. I always say the worst thing that happened to the Knicks in the last 30 years, 35 years was him walking out. They never should have let him go. And all the years when they kept changing their front office, I always said, why don't you just call up Pat Riley in the Miami Heat and see how much it would cost to get him to bring him back? Now, obviously, that ship has sailed.
Right.
But that was the worst.
They should call
thing
Tom Thibodeau right now and see how much it would cost to bring him back. I mean,
you're right. Yeah, no, it's not a bad idea. Pat Riley, well, and Tom loves Pat Riley.
I know.
It goes Pat Riley to Jeff Van Gundy to Tom Thibodeau. So, Tom talks about Pat Riley like he is, not only an all-time great coach, but also a great executive as well.
Why is Tom not getting interest from other teams?
I think there aren't the only job available is the Knicks, like you said.
Right.
They should call him. He does have $30 million coming to him over the next 3 years. It's also tough, when you get to reach a certain age or teams willing to do something like that. But I think if you look at his history, Chicago, Minnesota, New York, think about the situations he took over and how quickly he turned them around. I think the fans sometimes, I'll look at his playoff record. Well, there were years he shouldn't even been in the playoffs. He won a Game 7 on the road with Chicago. I think it was C.J. Watson and Nate Robinson were starting backcourt for a Game 7 on the road, and he won that. So they'll criticize the record. Well, a lot of times they went in there where they shouldn't even been in the playoffs.
Right. I mean, we made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. First time I don't care what his fucking playoff record is. It's enough. I
don't. And the thing that bothers me the most about it too, if you look at what he accomplished and the stuff that's being leaked out and the fans are latching onto, the big one was a story came out that he didn't practice late game situations. All right. Well, if you take 5 minutes out of your busy schedule, they were 19-12 in clutch wins. That was 5th best in the league. They had the clutch player of the year on their team in Jalen Brunson. He won the award. So you're telling me they didn't practice it. So how did it happen? All by accident?
Right.
And again, everything that everybody brings up, they never bring up the record. 10 playoff wins, most since 1999. Eastern Conference Finals, first time in 25 years. It's everything is painted as the Knicks players in the front office went 10-0 in the playoffs, and Tom went 0-8.
Right.
I mean, it's a little unfair the way it's painted. You didn't like him. You're allowed to fire whoever you want.
Right.
But give me a break that the guy was somehow incompetent, didn't know what he was doing. That's a bit much.
That's ridiculous. What are you hearing on Giannis?
Bobby Portis resigning there. That tells me
$44 million for Bobby Portis, man.
I know.
It's grown up being an NBA player. I mean,
it's weird. Sometimes you don't understand why someone's popular. It's like you in Miami and it's Bobby Portis in Milwaukee. Giannis is like beloved, and like second on the list is Bobby Portis. The crowd absolutely loves him in Milwaukee. So that tells me that Giannis is going to be there. Everyone says that Giannis will eventually, if he pushes the issue and says, you know what, it's now time to move on. I think they're going to give it at least one more run because of how poor the Eastern Conference is. So they're probably thinking, you know what, why can't it be us? We have the best player in the conference right now in Giannis. Let's see if we can make a couple of moves and maybe we could start moving up. And Doc Rivers is not coaching in some rebuilding situation. So the whole thing makes it sound like he's going to be there. But when the time comes to trade him, and if you're in Milwaukee, and that would be a big step for him and for them, they're going to have to get a lot back in return.
You are so right about me, because I am everything that this market is trained to hate. Like
New Yorker,
loudmouth, brash, Long Island, New Yorker, Knicks fan, Jets fan. They're supposed to hate me, and somehow they've embraced me, and I love them for it. But you are right about that, Frank.
No accounting for the public taste, as I always say.
DeAndre Ayton was bought out. What kind of market do you expect for Ayton?
I mean, he'll get offers just because he's big, and he is somewhat talented. So a couple of years ago, it was a pretty funny story. I'm doing the Nets games on like the studio work. The Nets are on the West Coast, so it had to be a January game. They must have had an ice storm in Portland, and word comes down that DeAndre Ayton can't get off the street that he's living on to make it to the game. Now, how much effort he put in, I have no idea. But, the guy is from the Bahamas, whatever the case may be. So you're getting these reports.
Right.
And then the game starts, and every guy in the Nets is there. Every guy in the Portland Trailblazers is there, and the arena sold out. So he was like the one guy that couldn't get from his house to the arena on this, icy day or, snow, whatever they might have had in Portland. But, hey, he did get to a finals with Phoenix. That was a good team that they had. But, he can't be your third best player. If he's going to be your fourth best player, he'll be all right. But I think a lot of teams would be interested in him because you can get him for cheap.
Are you ready for the first ever game of Isola or AssHoleA?
All right, let's go.
So Isola, if you say Isola, this is something that Frank would do.
Yep.
And you get the game, Frank. I don't
yes.
need to explain.
All right.
Okay.
So it's about me.
Yes.
All right.
So let's start here.
All right.
Peeing in the pool. Isola or AssHoleA?
Ain't no way. That's a hola. I'm not doing that. No chance. No chance.
You're not peeing in the pool?
Maybe the ocean, not the pool. No way. The ocean, maybe.
How about a lake?
Yeah, the lake. I'm always creeped out by lakes. Maybe I don't know. I'd be worried I could attract a snake or something like that. I'm worried about the lake. The ocean I could deal with, not the lake.
A couple of snakes cutting it up.
There you go. Bang.
How about the shower? Peeing in the shower. Isola, AssHoleA.
I know you asked Stan Van Gundy that one before.
Yeah. Everyone does it. Come on. Like, listen, if I had to go to the bathroom and my choice is like, somehow if I were in the pool and there was a toilet right next to the pool, I'd still go in the pool. You know what I'm saying?
You AssHoleA.
Isola. I'll go Isola now. Aye.
All right. Ketchup on those wonderful, delicious New City hot dogs. Isola
never in a million years. That's a hole of one. No chance. I hate that. I hate most condiments. Everything. I always say I want it on the side. I'll decide how much I'm going to put on. Even salad dressing. It's too much.
Okay.
Ketchup's no good for you. I'm an anti-ketchup guy.
Okay. Cutting off everyone merging in traffic. Isola or AssHoleA?
No. Come on.
I
have a bad reputation, but I'm actually a nice person. I usually give the wave in, let everyone come, never cut anybody.
You zipper the right way when merging.
Yes.
So you're letting all the AssHoleAs in, is what you're doing.
No, I'm doing every other one. There has to be order. So if the person tries to tailgate the other car, I pull up. No chance. Right. Got to do it the right way. And I'll look out the window and say every other one. That's how it works. Absolutely.
Directing traffic out there.
Exactly.
It's the guy that tries to reinvent where the zipper starts is the problem. Because everybody's merging, and then all of a sudden you get the one guy who goes, no. It's 7 cars up that we're merging. And it's like, no. We're all doing it here. This is where you do it.
Absolutely. That's true.
Working for the Athletic and telling everyone at a party that you work for the New York Times. Isola or AssHoleA?
That's Isola. I'm definitely doing that. You got to know your audience. If it's a bunch of college kids you're talking to, you say the Athletic.
Right.
Cocktail party, important people around. You know, you're at some Northwestern function. You're not telling the AD and the president you work at the New York Times? Come on.
No, I'm still telling people I work at ESPN.
You'll wear a hat. So when Mike Wise, who's a knucklehead, used to cover the Knicks for the New York Times, he would say the word so much that we started calling him Mike Times, not Mike Wise anymore. He said he's going to just introduce, hi, I'm Mike Times. He loved playing that card. He played that card every minute of the day. He walked up to Helen Hunt after a Laker game and introduced himself as that. I said, why would Helen Hunt care? She's like, hi, Mike Wise from the New York Times. And then they had some stupid exchange. I don't like, why would people care? It's not that big of a deal.
I mean, it reeks of credibility. That's what
I guess. It's good. You know what, though, a lot, but some people, like when you get out of state and you'd go to places like Miami, a lot of transplanted New Yorkers, you would go out in LA. And when I said I worked at the New York Daily News, a lot of people like that. Because they said, they grew up reading the paper.
Of course.
It's a different, you got to know your audience. You know how it is.
Yeah, right. Younger audience, you tell them the new stuff. Older audience, right. New York Post, Daily News, New York Times.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
Exactly.
Boarding when your group is not called, before your group is called. Isola,
you are
AssHoleA.
a major.
Yeah.
I always say it. You could tell so much about a person's personality by the way they board a plane and get off a plane. It's mind numbing. I once yelled at the gate agent. So I had, group one. And it was one of these things, the flight was going late and she just told everyone to board. So I purposely waited until everyone got on. I said, tell me what's the purpose of being, like, having status on the airline when you're just including all of us? And she was like, I wasn't yelling at her, but I just asked her and she was apologizing. Oh, we had to do it quickly. You know how it works. So once it's a free-for-all, it's going to make it take longer.
Right.
But watch, you have to board with your group. And I like the people. You'll get the gate agent who's almost like a Nazi. They look at it. They're like, no. You're going to the back line. How about this? Amtrak, you'll appreciate this. I take it down to D.C. a lot. They got the quiet car, right?
Yes.
You get some of the conductors come through there, and if you're talking on their phone, they'll have it out with you. They'll tell you to leave the car.
Really?
Either turn off your phone or leave the car. The quiet car is one of the greatest inventions of all time.
Wow.
Especially when it's being policed properly.
Using the cell phone in that car, Isola or AssHoleA?
No chance. Stu, once I took my wife to DC, we're in the quiet car. She starts talking. I start pointing to the sign, nodding my head. We can't even talk. No talking. No talking to quiet. I have to concentrate. I'm going down there for work. I have to study and do things like that. And you will never see me do that. Nor will I ever be on a speakerphone in public. I don't do that either. I'm polite.
Really?
I understand people's personal space.
Right.
I'm good like that.
But I like Frank, he needs order, he needs structure. And so he's telling first if he's boarding the plane, hey, let's go, one group at a time. I mean,
Still, you walk around, you're famous, so you probably do. You walk around like your speakerphone, telling your daughter what she needs to do. When you're playing Carolina in the finals, and it's a way to kind of include everyone in the conversation. I
don't do that. No, in fact, that's AssHoleA to me. I'm with you.
I don't do that. I don't like that.
I definitely don't do that. All right, last one, we'll get you out of here. Reclining on an airplane.
I never do it.
AssHoleA.
I never do it. I have complete respect for the people behind me. I don't
get that. I mean, there's a recline button for a reason. So
I know, but I might just go a little bit back. It's, you know what? It's really not that much more comfortable. It really isn't.
Right.
When you sit, if you get an emergency exit seat, sometimes you do feel like it's pushing forward. But I don't ever go back. Okay. Unless I'm lucky enough, I don't want this to sound obnoxious, unless I'm lucky enough to get bumped up into business class, first class, then I'll do
bumped
that.
Up. Yeah, sure.
I'm not like you. I ain't swimming in money. I have to get lucky. On those flights, the best flight to take from Newark Airport is United to Orlando, because they use big planes, and everyone going to Orlando, it's families. So it's not a lot of business travelers. So every time you go to Orlando, you always get bumped up because of your status. That's a good flight.
Look at
Terrible
you.
airport in Orlando, but good flight.
Oh, the one in Newark is so good.
Yeah, but at least it moves. The one in Orlando's, they built a new terminal when you come up, Terminal A. Beautiful.
Really?
Oh, really nice. You feel like Tony Soprano's going to pop out at any moment and grab you by the neck. It has like a good Jersey theme to it.
It's Terminal A at Newark, huh?
Yes. For Anthony.
You're home away from home, Frank
Isola. It has nothing to do with the alphabet. It's A for Anthony. That's what it is.
All right, man. Hey, we appreciate the time. Sorry. Thank you for doing this on such short notice.
All right, boys.
AssHoleA for asking someone an hour
yes,
before.
Yes. Now you guys owe me. I'm going to make you pay me back somehow.
Whatever you need, buddy. I appreciate
Thanks,
it. Check him out. He is the host of the starting lineup on Sirius XM Radio, also on PTI. He's got to run. He's got a soccer game to watch. Big soccer game. Is there a big soccer game today?
I think in Inter Milan. I like the Club World Cup. It's fun. The Brazilian fans have been great.
Right.
Brazilian but the Argentinian teams are out. But the Brazilian teams are great.
But U.S. men's soccer is dead, right? Dead. No
the program doesn't look good.
Because they're not good, right?
I know, it's a problem. How can we have so many people in this country but not be that good? I don't get. Our two of our better players from yesterday are kids that grew up in Germany.
Right. Well, here's my theory on this, because boys growing up playing sports, I played soccer. We all start off playing soccer. Then we realize how boring soccer is, and there's no money in soccer. And if we're going to be bored, we might as well play baseball.
That's great. You know what? It's underrated how much money you can make in baseball. It really, I mean, come on. Even the NBA players when they saw Juan Soto, they must have said he's really getting that much money.
Right.
Crazy.
Should I sit out here on this pitch, not doing anything? Game's really hard. I can only use my feet. Or should I grow up to be Bobby Portis to make $44 million?
That's a fair point.
Right. Thank you.
That's a fair point. Thanks, guys.